Hello and welcome to our YouTube channel, the Inverted Fullbacks Podcast. I am Fez, and with me is the co-host Sanan. Sanan, how are you doing?
Not very good, Fez. It was a tough day yesterday. The season for Arsenal is over, unfortunately. Let's
Yeah,
hope we can hang on to
I
second now.
I was looking at the stat which said that almost like 30 to 35% of the trophies that Arsenal has won have been Community Shield. So, yeah, you had high hopes, and after that win against Real Madrid, I think most of the Premier League supporters had high hopes from Arsenal. But PSG, first they downed Liverpool, my club, and big praises for PSG's goalkeeper Donnarumma. And yesterday he was amazing again against Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, if you look through the three ties they played, Liverpool, Villa, Arsenal, XG wise, Arsenal was like had by far the best like performance against them. I think Arsenal had 5.1 XG versus PSG's 3.5. Like against Liverpool, Liverpool had 1.8 to 5 XG from PSG. Villa had less than 3 to again 5 from PSG. So I mean, if you look purely at I guess the performance and the chances, you could say that we played all right. But at the end of the day, like Arteta said it best himself in the comments, like in these games, the games decided in the boxes, and PSG were better in both boxes. So I mean, that's just is how it is what it is, right? And
And
maybe with a striker next year, better result, but we'll see.
even if you look at the first leg, so the goal that Dembele scored, PSG made like 26 passes, 26 successful passes before scoring. So that was probably like a record in the UCL for PSG as well, like the most passes
Yeah.
before they score goals. So it was, well, that goal was really nicely crafted. And even yesterday, they were playing in their home, and Arsenal, although they rued a bit of chances in the first few minutes, Declan Rice had a close header which he couldn't score, and then at the end, when the tie felt like almost like it was over, but Saka had a chance at the end. It was a tough shot, but he couldn't score the second goal. He scored the first goal, which was a confusing bit of goal, but it seemed like PSG was the better team out of the two.
Yeah, if you're clinical in your box, your keeper has that type of performance, then it's tough for the other team to win. But yeah, like Arsenal create 5.1 XG and they score one goal. So I mean, it's clear what the issue is with Arsenal, right? They can't finish their chances. Um, and yeah, and then Donnarumma had a great game, and they had individual moments of brilliance, right? Like you saw the two goals, Hakimi and Fabian, like both like unbelievable goals. And that's the difference, right? You have PSG players pulling those out, and the Arsenal players don't, you know, unfortunately can't. And yeah, sad day. But honestly, the other tie was also insane. I don't know if you had the time to watch it, but you definitely missed out because it was unbelievable. I mean, like. So Inter go up 2-0 in the first half. Barca like have their chances, but nothing too serious. And after that Inter, the second goal, which was a penalty, I thought, Barca looked deflated. I thought it was over. And then they come out in the second half swinging, and then they 2-1, 2-2, and then Rafinha makes it 3-2, and he tied the record of CR7, which obviously was very cool, but yeah, like Inter somehow hold on. Like crazy game. One of the best UCL games I've ever watched.
Yes, I was indulged in a different topic also ever. Pakistan and India have been in slight tensions these past few days, and I was following the politics in these past few days. But yeah, what a season for
Yeah.
Rafinha that you just mentioned. He made 21 goal contributions this season, which is joint with Cristiano Ronaldo, the prime CR7 of 2013-14 when he made 21 goal contributions in a UCL campaign, and he was also about to, if he provided an assist in the second leg, which he didn't, he could have equaled Luis Figo's record of most assists in a single UCL season. But it was a superb season for Rafinha, and also keeping in mind that there were rumors that he might exit Barca at the beginning of the season or the culmination of the previous season, because under Xavi he didn't have a good time, and there were several clubs from Saudi Arabia who were being linked to with Rafinha, but gladly. for Barcelona. He stood with Barcelona, and Barca is still in the race to win the La Liga title this year under Hansi Flick. Although after his time with Xavi, now this was a brilliant season from him, and no one expected this from him. I've been watching him since he played for Leeds United against Liverpool, and he was really he was brilliant at that time as well. But this season he's been superb.
Yeah, I think he's become a different player this season. I think at Leeds especially, he wasn't really the best facilitator. He was more of a, goal scorer. But now, like, he can do everything. And you're right, he is up there with the favorites for the Ballon d'Or. This, of course, will hurt his case. I think Barca at least need to win the La Liga if he wants a chance. For Salah's sake, I think he wants Inter Milan to win the Champions League. That'll probably be the best for his Ballon d'Or chances. But maybe Lautaro is a dark horse after he scored. He scored against Barca in the second leg. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, like on Rafinha, it's going to be interesting next season. How he plays if he can keep this level up because we haven't ever seen Rafinha play to like this level. Like it's so far above, in my opinion, what we've seen from him before. So, if he can keep this level up, then it'll be unbelievable. So, we'll see. But yeah, I think if you're a Barca fan, you're definitely optimistic. Your team is so young. You have a 17-year-old and 18-year-old at the back. Like realistically, it can only get better. So, nothing really to worry about, especially if they win the La Liga this year. At the end of the day, they're outperforming Real Madrid like very, very comfortably. So
And they
yeah, I
also
think
have a 37-year-old as a striker as well. So there's a nice
yeah,
combination of teenagers and people who are almost touching 40s.
yeah. So no need to panic if you're a Barca fan. Of course, it's a bit sad, but I'm sure they'll be in and around the same place next year if people can keep up their form. And of course, they're probably going to make some acquisitions in the summer as well. But speaking about acquisitions, there was a big one this week from your beloved club.
Yeah, we have nicely transitioned from Barcelona to their arch rivals Real Madrid, who just signed the most successful Premier League right back, Trent Alexander-Arnold. It was confirmed by Fabrizio Romano, and then Liverpool also released a video where Trent announced that he's going to leave his boyhood club. He's been there since 2004 when he was a toddler, and he joined the Liverpool Academy. And I think he's number one in the assists if you talk about the defenders within the Premier League. I think on second is probably Everton's Leighton Baines, who made the most assists as a defender in the Premier League. But he announced that he'll be leaving Liverpool to join Real Madrid. I'm not sure, and I agree with Jamie Carragher when he said that this is a confusing decision from him because like Liverpool is it could be easily termed as the top five or top six teams within Europe. And if you look at the seasons that Real Madrid and Liverpool had, they are quite similar. Liverpool have already won the Premier League, so in terms of quality and in terms of results this season, both the teams didn't have that many of different results. Madrid still has to win the La Liga. They're trailing Barcelona, but this is I think it's a proven fact that Real Madrid is called the best club or the biggest club in the world. So it does make sense in that if you think about that mindset, and when you move from the Premier League to a club like Real Madrid, then there's also the other aspect that Jude Bellingham, with whom he has a really nice friendship in the English team as well, he's already playing there and he's established himself after leaving Borussia Dortmund. So it does make sense for Trent to move from Liverpool to Real Madrid. It's a heartbreak for me. There was a heartbreak for you as an Arsenal fan yesterday, but this happened a few days ago. But I also witnessed Liverpool win their second Premier League title of the Premier League era, just the Premier League era, second title. Except for that, we're level with Manchester United now in terms of the top division title wins.
Yeah, the 20th title. It's a big milestone for Liverpool. And like my opinion is it's a fitting time for Trent to leave, right? Like I think he's just come, they've won another title. Klopp is now left. Salah is 32, Van Dijk is I think 33. If you look at his future, like no matter how Real Madrid have played this year, I think like it's pretty like you can pretty safely say they're the most talented team on the planet. Number of their players are young. Like their midfield is so stacked. Their front line is stacked. And all of them are still in their mid-20s, right? So this team is going to dominate for 5, 6, 7 years. And with Liverpool, they're in such a competitive league and environment. After Salah and Van Dijk leave, will they still be, competing for titles? I think yes, probably, but you can't be sure, right? And for that reason, it makes sense for Trent to go. He's given a lot to his boyhood club. He's won a lot for them. And yeah, I think it's just Liverpool fans are obviously going to be sad, but I don't think anger is, like fair in this case because it's not like, he did anything too wrong. I think there were multiple points where Madrid offered money to Liverpool that they didn't take. Um, and yeah, sure, like some people will say, oh, well, maybe he should have renewed just so that we could get a big fee for him, but there's no guarantee Real Madrid. When Real Madrid come for you, you go, right? And not every club can spend 100 million on every player. Like, I don't know if Madrid would have spent that on a right back. So, and that's probably what Liverpool would have demanded if he was under contract. So, you know, it is what it is. Liverpool are still going to be a title challenger next year. And, he's given so much to the club. He's a boyhood player. I think the outrage is obviously a little bit overdone. Like they're not a direct rival either. They're not in the Premier League. They play in La Liga. Like Liverpool maybe will face them once every couple of years. Um, yeah, like
But it'll be
I
really
think for
interesting to
go
see
ahead.
what reception he gets at Anfield when he comes the next time.
I think there may be a disconnect between, online fans and real fans, right? Because I think a lot of the time, like you see this a little bit at Arsenal where fans are complaining, fans are screaming like Arteta out after we lose anything, but the whole stadium loves him, will sing his name the entire time, right? And I think a single similar thing will happen at Liverpool when Trent comes back. I think the fans in the stadium are not going to boo him because I think that would be ridiculous, you know. But
And he
I
also
think
scored a.
Carragher said one thing that annoyed me though. He said, "I don't want other fans telling Liverpool fans how they should feel." Jamie Carragher has a history of telling every other club fan how they should feel. He told Arsenal fans that they shouldn't celebrate after they won, especially when we beat Liverpool. He told Arsenal fans like all this type of stuff. You have no right to say something like that. A big Jamie Carragher hater over here.
It was also interesting how he scored a goal with his left foot against Leicester City the other week. This was the first goal from him with his left foot in all of his career. So I
Hmm.
was just looking at some stats, and I came across this funny stat of Jorginho, who scored 23, I believe. Oh, sorry, 21 goals in the Premier League. 19 of which have been penalties. And except for that, there's Dwight McNeil, who has scored 20 goals in the Premier League, and all of his goals have been with his left foot. He's a left dominant player. And then there's Jamal Lascelles, who plays for Newcastle, who scored 10 goals in the Premier League, and all of them have been headers. So this was like a really interesting stat that I came across. And I also came across the other funny story from the match between Fiorentina and Real Betis when Anthony scored a goal with his right foot. And in the post-match press conference, David De Gea said they were teammates in Manchester United in the previous seasons. David De Gea said that I've played with this guy for so many years at Manchester United, and he's never scored a goal with his right foot, even in the practice sessions. And now in the match in the between Betis and Fiorentina in the UEFA competition, he scored a goal with his right foot. So what a season Anthony has been having after exiting Manchester United.
It's going to be interesting what happens next year, but I think a little some Man United fans are under the assumption that clubs are going to pay them a lot of money for him. I don't think that's true. He's on unbelievably high wages, and it's very clear that Man United don't want him. So it might be a situation similar to Rashford's, who's also playing really well, where they're kind of just trying to get his salary off the books. But yeah,
So now,
from one.
if we remain within Real Madrid, the other thing to discuss was Carlo Ancelotti, and there are many rumors that he's going to be sacked. One doesn't know if it'll be within this season or once the season concludes, but there's been links of him joining the Brazil national team ahead of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And the coach, which is supposed to be replacing him, is Xabi Alonso. And I was reading this article a few days ago where the Leverkusen CEO has also said that they have a gentleman's agreement with Xabi Alonso that whenever he wants, if he wants to coach any of his ex clubs, which also includes Liverpool, they wouldn't be like a hindrance in front of him if he wants to go to that club. And his contract runs till the next season, 2026. So he still has the next season in his contract at Leverkusen. But it seems highly likely if Ancelotti is sacked or if he respectfully decides to exit himself, the next coach to come to Real Madrid seems to be Xabi Alonso.
Yeah, no, I think it's probably been telegraphed for a year now that that's gonna be the case. You know, Alonso's been touted as the next Madrid manager for so long. It makes so much sense. He's had so much success at Leverkusen. And I think a lot of Madrid's problems this year have been blamed a little bit on Ancelotti and the way he's coached them, especially from the Madrid fans. And given all the talent that they have, I'd say it probably is fair because that type of talent, you should be winning La Liga. You should be winning, or at least competing at the, semis or the finals of the Champions League. So yeah, it's definitely a really disappointing year. And I think Ancelotti's had so much success, it kind of makes sense to step out now. When he's still, not like he still hasn't, fallen off completely. I think it's a good time to walk away. He is like a great legacy there, multiple Champions Leagues. So yeah, I think it's a good move. It makes sense for both parties. And it's going to be interesting what happens with Leverkusen. They have a lot of young star players like Florian Wirtz, Frimpong. So, especially Wirtz, it's very exciting to see if they're going to move, where they're going to go. Because Wirtz is a 100 million player, right? Like he's probably the next 100 million player in the market. But who can afford him right now? Bayern maybe have too many players in that position. I don't think Barca have the money and or the place to play him. Madrid, I mean Madrid, you always think they have too many players, but you never know. I think City probably makes sense, but they've already also spent a lot of money on that position, and they have Phil Foden, even though Phil Foden's been pretty badly this season. Yeah, we'll see. I think Liverpool could be interesting. If Liverpool have money lying around, he could be a great option.
Liverpool is also being linked with KDB all of a sudden because there's like major Liverpool publications, like the respectable journalists within the community who've been posting about KDB's links with Liverpool, although it wouldn't make sense. But he said this in the previous days that he wasn't ready to exit Manchester City, and he also scored the winner in City's previous Premier League match, which was like a statement to Pep Guardiola as well. That look, I'm still at the top of my form. Although I was injured in the last two seasons, but I haven't dipped in my form. I just wasn't playing because I was injured. But he's been linked with Liverpool. But we already have Dominic Szoboszlai, and it wouldn't make sense if Liverpool. He's a fantastic player, Wirtz, but if Liverpool does decide to buy him, what do you do with Dominic Szoboszlai, who's been decent this season? Not the best, not the worst. He's been decent in the role, and Wirtz plays in a similar position compared to Szoboszlai.
Shabazla has been all right. I think, you guys signed him for 70 million euros. You obviously won the league this year. I think you may have been expecting a little bit more out of him. But also, with Wirtz, I think he doesn't play, the same role. I think Shabazla is kind of like an eight, while Wirtz would be a false nine, a second striker, or like at least a 10. So you'd probably have to change the way your midfield works or the way you play to accommodate him. And you're right, it would probably come at the price of Shabazza getting less minutes. So it'll be a big thing, and it's a lot of money to spend. So we'll see. Arsenal could use him. But yeah, with KDB, I've heard some funny links. Yeah, I've heard some to Liverpool. I heard one or two people saying Arsenal, but I think I'm pretty certain he's gonna either go to the MLS or Saudi. And the MLS is looking pretty likely now. I think the Chicago Fire have his. I think we talked about that previously. They have his. Where are the exploration rights or something? Discovery rights. That's the
Discovery
thing they
rights.
have in the MLS. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see regarding that. But yeah, from can move on to Big Ange now.
Yeah, your North London rivals. So well, Ange Postecoglou has been in the news in the last few days because ex-Arsenal coach slash manager Arsène Wenger, he said that the clubs who win the Europa League, they shouldn't directly qualify for the Champions League because now we're seeing Manchester United and Tottenham who seem highly likely that they'll qualify for the final and one of them would win the league. But if you see their standings in the Premier League themselves, they aren't the best and they're not even in the top half of the table. They're in the bottom fourth of the table. So, do you agree with Arsene Wenger's statement that the winners of the Europa League shouldn't directly qualify to the UCL?
Well, like I think if we look at like when this rule was implemented, we saw like Sevilla was winning back-to-back Europa Leagues, but they couldn't qualify to the league and they were consistently fifth right outside. I think that's fair, right? Like if you are going to qualify for Europe already next year and you win the Europa League, you should get upgraded to a Champions League spot. I agree with that. But I think if you're outside the European places in your league, I don't think it makes sense to give them a Champions League spot. What have these clubs done domestically? And that's typically where you qualify to deserve this. You know, a club like United is 17th. I think Spurs is 16th or 15th. Like it's not like I know these are big clubs, but there also should be a standard upheld in the competition, right? Like it's not, it's more about you can't finish, almost relegation threatened and qualify. It's a bit ridiculous, right? I don't know. I think scrapping the rule obviously would be one thing. I think an amendment where maybe the club has to already be qualifying for either the Europa or League or the Conference League the next year through the league, and then they get upgraded to spot to Champions League. I think that's fair if they win, but if they're completely out of the like if they're completely out of contention for, Europe and they win the Europa League, maybe you can give them a Europa League spot. But I think a Champions League spot is a bit ridiculous because that's like a very big thing, right? And yeah.
Ange Postecoglou's comments were a bit different. He said that whenever Tottenham's performing well in a tournament, and it's been a long while since they won a tournament, such comments do come. And this law that we were talking about, as you said, Sevilla, this law only came in, I believe, 2014 when they decided that the winners of the Europa League should directly qualify to the UCL. But I was seeing this post on social media that the team that Tottenham is playing in the semifinals of the Europa League, they just exploded some fireworks outside the hotel of Tottenham Hotspur's early morning because I think they'll play later on today. So the home fans of the opposing team are making sure, although Spurs have a 3-1 advantage, they won at their home in the first leg. But it's interesting, this North London rivalry, because there's also this North London thing in this Arsene Wenger, the ex-manager of Arsenal, and then there's the coach of Tottenham Hotspur.
Honestly, I think Ange has become very excuse prone in the media and he's become very blamey since he's been performing, awfully, frankly. I mean, being bottom half of the club with Tottenham's resources is embarrassing, let alone near the relegation zone. And I think a comment like this is just not helpful to him because like it just doesn't exist. Like when has Tottenham done well in a competition? Everyone's like changing the rules. This literally never happened ever. I don't get it. Like when Tottenham did well in the Champions League, no one changed any rules. When Tottenham were competing for the Prem, they just choked. No one was changing any rules. Like I don't get where he's coming from with these comments. And he's been he comes across he came across in a fun way at the start, but now it's just getting a bit obnoxious. And maybe that's just me as an Arsenal fan, but I can recognize there might be a little bit of bias there, but I don't get annoyed by basically any manager that much. Like I think every manager, there's a lot of pressure on them. They can say what they want. But Postecoglou has a special level of arrogance, and he hasn't really won, anything. Like he hasn't even made his team perform well ever. Like, and I don't get it. I don't even get how he's still in a job. I think if they don't win the Europa League, he's gonna get sacked. And even if they win the Europa League, he might get sacked because finishing 15th is disgraceful. Like it's really bad. No matter what your injuries are, Arsenal have faced. I think if you look at the injury table, like days out of starting players, Arsenal have faced worse injuries than Tottenham and are still second place. And I'm not saying Tottenham should be second place. I'm saying they shouldn't be 15th, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't like Ange.
So now, moving from Tottenham to a player who has been a part of our Premier League journeys all these years is Jamie Vardy, who's decided that he's going to leave Leicester City. And what a career he's had. So he didn't have we've talked about Trent earlier on in this podcast that he graduated from Liverpool's academy, but Jamie Vardy's journey was a bit different. As you said, that he also worked in a factory while playing in the law in the non-leagues. And then I also recall a story. I think I read his book or something where I came across this story that he was caught outside a bar or like a pub, and he was having a fight, and the police had to put a brace on his foot, and then he wasn't allowed to play football matches after a certain time, like 10 p.m. or like 10 p.m., 11 p.m., something like that, while he was playing in the sixth or seventh tier of the English system. So from that to winning the Premier League with Leicester City, and he's been loyal to the club. And only this year, when he hasn't been getting the regular minutes, and I'm not sure about his future as well, because he hasn't said that he's going to retire. He's already not playing for England. I think he's been retired from the national team. But in terms of clubs, will he come to the MLS? Will he go to Saudi Arabia, which are the two favored destinations of most of the players who are in this part of their careers? But what a career Jamie Vardy has had, and now I think he's won the Premier League, also the FA Cup. I'm not sure which season he won, but he's also won the English domestic competitions as well.
Yeah, I think the FA Cup was maybe 1920, but I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, no, Vardy's in great loyal. The loyalty point is, especially there. I think the year after they won the league, 2016, Arsenal had triggered his release clause and offered him a contract, but he chose to stay, which is like, amazing loyalty. At the time, Arsenal finished second when Leicester won the title. Obviously, a club with probably would pay him more money, play in the Champions League, probably compete for it. So yeah, I mean, for Vardy, like unbelievable career. He'll probably go down as one of Leicester's most legendary ever players. I think, yeah, and as a as a football player, that's really all you want is for a club to hold you that dear after you retire. And he's leaving Leicester now, so it's going to be interesting where he's going to go. He said in the media that he still thinks he can contribute to a Premier League team. So. I don't think that's true. Unfortunately, he's a bit old. But you never know. He's an experienced guy. He'll be a good guy in the dressing room. So you could see him in the Premier League for somebody else next year.
Then there's the news from the Swiss Super League as well. Shadran Shaqiri, the ex-player of Liverpool, he's been performing so well in the Swiss Super League. He scored 15 goals and provided 20 assists in the 34 league matches till now. And the interesting part is that he's playing for Basel, who finished ninth out of 12 teams in the previous season. The Swiss competition only has 12 teams, and they have an interesting formation of how the top six teams, once they play each other three times in the regular season, then they go to the playoffs, which is very similar to the MLS. And if a team who isn't from Switzerland, if it's from Liechtenstein, then it is decided that if they finish first, the Swiss team is awarded the title, even if the Swiss team finishes second in the competition, because a team from outside Switzerland can't win the competition, which was a very awkward rule that I came across. But if we come
Yeah.
back to Shaqiri, he's been having a fantastic season, and this could be the first trophy for Basel after 6 long years. And they're even competing in the domestic cup competition as well, so they could win a domestic double, and they just need one win from from their last four matches to guarantee the Swiss Super League. So he was playing in the MLS. I believe he was playing for Chicago Fire, if I recall correctly, and he was scoring brilliant goal as always. He's always been the guy for free kicks and long range shoots, but this year he's been fantastic in his home country, Switzerland.
Yeah, Shaqiri, great player, Swiss legend. I think he's like when he was Mo Salah's backup. I think that's when Liverpool had the most, balanced attack. Like, I think Liverpool needs someone like him again to back up Mo Salah. Mo Salah's older now, and Shaqiri is, yeah, great player. And Liverpool were lucky to have him just as a backup for so many years. Um, but yeah, like excellent player. It's a cool story taking a club from ninth, and then when you join, they're gonna win the league, right? So it must feel very good for him.
So now if we move from the European news to the North American news, the first one isn't related to a North American club. It is about Wrexham, but it is owned by a person from Vancouver. Go Vancouver. Ryan Reynolds. So his club Wrexham, which he invested in 5 years ago, 2020, they have gotten their third consecutive promotion, and now they're in the second tier of the English football tier system. Do you think with these investments happening from North American celebrities mostly, because we also know Birmingham City, which is partly owned by the NFL player Tom Brady, so all these celebs within North America deciding to invest into these football clubs who have major support systems within their cities. Do you think this would promote in any way the culture of soccer within North America?
Yeah, no, I think it's doing that. I think it's doing that well. I think people are more interested in football. People know about Wrexham, who I don't think anyone would ever know about Wrexham if it wasn't for this investment, at least the football club. They had that documentary, I think, made in Wrexham about the club. Like, it's a good story, right? It's a good story. And I know people who are probably local are probably a bit annoyed because, they have these rich American owners. They come in, they put their players on higher wages than those around them. They get promoted. But, like now they're at the championship, it's going to be, that now it's a roadblock, right? So can they make the next step? The championship to the Premier League is the biggest jump. The steps before are, combined smaller than this one. So we'll see how they fare now in the championship. Hopefully they do well. But I always think that the best model for ownership is definitely the German one, where the fans have majority control. I think that's the whole point about football is the fans, the product, the entertainment. And but yeah, like that's obviously perfect world. Everyone's like that, but I think it's good for the game. I think it's promoted the game a lot in the US. This and stuff like Ted Lasso, like I think these types of things are just good for the game. I just hope that they don't start playing any matches in the US. And like like Champions League matches or whatever. That would not be good.
Now, with the last news of the day, we come back to North America, and it's the biggest competition within the soccer world, the 2026 FIFA World Cup. So, FIFA just announced that they've made these packages. These are mostly VIP packages, and they're really interesting. That this is going to be the biggest World Cup in terms of teams participating, 48 teams this round, which also includes 104 matches being played over 5 weeks. So they just released this package which is called Follow My Team. So, for example, if you're a supporter of England, you can watch all three group matches of England, as well as if they qualify for the round of 32, you could watch that match as well, four matches for 9,000 US dollars. Do you think it's worth it?
No, it's not worth it's not worth it at all. Maybe if it includes flights, hotels, food, maybe then it might be worth it, but ridiculous, like completely ridiculous. $9,000, even if it's I guess a VIP package, like like usually it's like companies that buy these packages, like so that's how they're priced, but I don't know, it's ridiculous. I hope when they release the normal tickets that they don't be this insane, like $100 to $150 is really what the ticket should be sold for. Anything more would just be extortionate. Like at the end of the day, they aren't making money off the ticket revenue, they're making money off the TV revenue. And while yeah, they should make enough ticket revenue, to fulfill everything they need, the venue, etc. But they should not price gouge the fans. A lot of these fans are coming from, all over the world, different countries, and not every fans from every country can't afford these tickets, right? And if you do this type of stuff, it just becomes okay, well, if you're from a better country, you're gonna have more fans. Like if you're from not a better country, a more developed country, you're gonna have more fans. Like, and it's just like it shouldn't be like that. It should very squarely be, it's not about the money. It's like you everyone can get a ticket, right? And that's how they should price them. But I know they're not going to do that, which is, unfortunate.
And it's also interesting how they've only released these packages for the matches that are being played in the US, because like the matches in Canada and Mexico, Canada and Mexico's five stadiums will be used. Total of 16 stadiums are participating in this event. 11 of which are in the US, and these packages are only for the stadiums within the US. And the second package that I came across is called the four match package, and it's for you could go and watch any of the four group stage matches, and there was one exclusion in this thing that you can't watch the first match of the US team. So except for that, you can watch all the other matches for like $5,300.
Who the hell would want to waste that money on the US team? Like,
So,
I'm not
so it
watching
seems
the
like
US.
so it seems like they already knew that, so they've excluded the US match altogether.
Why would, why would anyone want to watch? Okay, man. I mean, the US team have been playing awfully. Didn't they lose to Trinidad or something? The Canadian team's playing better than the US team right now.
Oh yes, that's also the thing. And the last package that's been rolled out, that one makes sense. Although it is almost as it costs you as much as the Follow My Team one. It's called a venue package. So, for example, if you live in Vancouver, I'm just making a situation over here because the tickets for Vancouver haven't gone out. Vancouver is supposed to host 7 matches in the tournament, so you can buy a venue package for Vancouver, a VIP venue package for like $8,200, and you can watch all the matches at the venue that you've chosen. This one does
Are
make
those
sense in
VIPs?
yeah, these are VIP tickets, and it does make sense because if you live in Vancouver, for example, you can go ahead and watch all the matches, but keeping in mind there are 7 matches and the package would cost you $8,200, so that's over $1,000 for each match if you decide to go to all the matches at Vancouver.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if I was a rich man and I lived in Vancouver, I might do it because I feel like that's better value than the 9,000 for 4 matches. And at least like you don't have to buy flights, you don't have to do all this stuff. You leave from your house to the stadium, right? So I don't know. That seems like the most reasonable out of all the packages, especially considering it's also VIP, but at the same time, God, like $7,200. Go fly. Like you can book yourself 3 holidays for that. Like it's ridiculous.
That's all from our side. Thank you for watching the latest podcast of the Inverted Fullbacks podcast. This was me, Faz, and with me was Sanan. Till then, do share, like, and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.